I hear multiple business owners talk about how they're having a real challenge to categorize or cluster their customers. So, what's the point of that? Well, when it comes to recognizing who your clients are, it really helps to understand where do they belong to a category. Can you, for example, categorize your customers into buckets that you can easily do marketing actions to really help those customers to buy more from you? And today we're going to look at how we can do that. How can we actually cluster our clients into something which will allow us to easily talk to them, as well as to be able to segment them so that we know which ones belong to the same category, which are different. I'll give you the entire prompt today, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the actual prompt and showcase to you how it's used, how it's created. You can test it out as well. It's really helpful if you have your data in CSV format, for example, or data dump. You can just copy paste into the ChatGPT, and this can be done easily using a normal ChatGPT account. Obviously, I recommend that you upgrade your account so that you have the full version of ChatGPT, or you can use a different LLM. You can use for example, Claude 2, for instance, or another LLM which might fit the bill. What's interesting is that we look at algorithms which will help you with this, and that is what we're looking at. And we'll look at how do we cluster them, and it's a very simple prompt. You can just copy paste across, change the elements which you want to change to kind of customize to your need and your requirement, and then we'll jump right into this and look at it. So let's dive into this, and let me show you what the prompt does, and how the algorithm help you create graphs and categories for your customers so you can do better marketing actions for them. All right. So let's dive into the actual algorithm or prompt for ChatGPT. First thing we ask to do is that we say that we give it a role. So we tell ChatGPT, for example, you're an expert marketing data analyst. Then we refer to a tool for which we are looking to get the content or the data analyzed, and then we say that we are a SaaS tool. You can change this to whatever you like. Dataset could be as long as you want. You can change that number of customers here, or you're going to say end customers as well. And then what columns you have. I've chosen customer ID, gender, age, annual income in thousands, and score, and then basically now what we do is we ask it to analyze the data. So we provide an overview of the data set, comment on the distribution of age, gender, annual income, and spending scores. Again, we can ask it to do that based on our thoughts and our inputs in our data type. Are there any notable trends or outliers in the data? That will give you the trends. Then data processing guidelines, advice on how to pre-process this data. Should I encode the gender column? How should I normalize the annual income and spending scores column for clustering? Number 3 is clustering approach. Recommend a clustering algorithm suitable for this data set. I'm considering k-means. Again, it might come up with its own, but our preference is k-means. How would I determine the optimal number of clusters? Explain the elbow method in this context, so it does all of that. This, by the way, k-means and the elbow method, it's a very popular way to segment data into different buckets or cluster them. And you'll see that the results which come out tend to be really good. Last bit of information there is cluster analysis. Once clustering is done, assuming k-means with an optimal number of clusters, how should I analyze these results? What characteristics might define each cluster? So given examples here, and then we have the marketing strategies per cluster based on the clustering results. Segment targeted marketing strategies for each customer segment. For instance, what approach would you recommend for a segment with high number of high income and high spending scores compared to one of the low income and low spending scores? So what we'll do now is we will now go back to we'll go to one of the examples I've taken, and we'll then review this again in the third video, or the third part of this video, where we actually look at a real data. that showcase the answer to you or what the results look like. Now we're going to jump right into the actual data set. So I've taken a data set which I just generated from ChatGPT, put that in with customer ID, gender, age, annual income, spending score. So you got all that in columns. I just copy pasted that right into this. And now it's able to then tell me on this 5 pieces of information or five pieces of data, draw a graph for me. So do a graph for me, gender, annual income distribution, spending score distribution. It then goes on to tell me about the age distribution. The age of the customers varies widely between 20 and 70. There's a relatively even spread across different age groups. Gender talks about the distribution. Annual income distribution, the income distribution ranges from low to high. Spending score distribution, spending scores also show variation, indicating different spending behaviors amongst customers. Talks about data processing guidelines, clustering approach, cluster analysis. What I think is really interesting is that it has been able to tell me information around sort of clustering, which I think is really interesting. This is the part which I find really interesting, the marketing strategy per cluster. So high income and so there's a category called high income and high spending scores, focus on premium products, personalized, so it's kind of giving you ideas on whom to focus on. There's a like the marketing one of the marketing category clusters. There are low income and low spending scores, and then there's another one which is saying that you can develop more strategies as well for others like this. So this can actually divide your user base into really interesting. Obviously, I just gave 5 pieces of data. Had it had more, you can categorize them more regularly and find trends in your market so you can understand who you're targeting and how to market them. I find this a great approach to getting your customers segmented and be able to grow your opportunity. Right. If you have any questions on this, please leave them as a comment. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. All subscriptions really help us and motivates us to put in more effort and time into creating some really awesome videos for you. And obviously, do spread the word around if you found this video useful. Thank you very much.